Welcome to Connections. I'm your host, April Healy, and I'm sitting here with my good friend, Jon Cole. He's a first-year pastor, and he was a former first-year student. So, hi, Jon. Welcome.
Hey, thanks.
Hey, welcome back. I'm glad you're here with us again. Can you tell us, what season you feel like the Lord has you in right now?
Yeah, it's definitely a season of training.
Wow.
I taught a little bit to first-year students the other night about being in process.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's definitely where God has me. Gotten just like really great prophetic words over the last. I feel like I'm a magnet for prophetic words right now, and it's so good.
Yeah.
It's always encouraging. I love when people give me prophetic words.
That's the best season.
But it also builds this tension in you.
Yeah.
Because then you have to wait to see the promise of that word come to fruition. And that waiting out, that in training, intention, whatever you want to call it, is not easy. And so that's definitely where God has me at the moment. There are multiple dreams in my heart that God is birthing and just walking some of those things out and discovering some of those things is kind of where God has me. And there are dreams in my heart that I didn't even know were there that are starting to I describe it almost like the doors starting to open, and I'm starting to realize what the Lord is speaking, what has always been there, but maybe was dormant for a while. And so I'm just kind of processing that and letting the Holy Spirit speak to me about that while I continue to be in process.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So how are you loving yourself well in the season of tension?
Yeah, I think a big deal, something that's really hard for me sometimes is making my needs known.
Yeah.
It's so easy for me to jump right into life with people and talk about what they're going through. I love it. It's part of how I am wired. I'm wired to connect with people on that level.
Yeah.
But talking about what I'm going through or what I need is often difficult. And so the Lord's just challenging me to be more honest and more vulnerable with people. And with vulnerability always comes risk.
Yeah.
But it's, when you know who you are, you're not as afraid of the risk. You're not as afraid of the rejection or whatnot. You're just being open about who you are.
Yeah.
And through that, you're seeing the Lord. I'm seeing the Lord really meet some needs that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. What values do you feel like you carry right now in your season?
So, rest is a big one.
Okay.
I know myself when I get to an 80% activity level, I start to feel even more anxious. And so peace has always been a really important value for me. Joy kind of comes naturally to me. I'm a joyful person.
That's awesome.
But peace is something that I can lose if I'm not focusing on the presence of the Lord and getting the rest that I need. And not just physical rest, but really just those moments of coming back to Jesus and the Holy Spirit on a daily basis.
Wow.
And experiencing God. If I don't I find myself craving that, I need to get home and I just need to spend 30 minutes on the guitar, or I need to just get in some worship music and really reconnect with the Holy Spirit. And it's in those moments I feel a rest that kind of sustains me and helps me reconnect with my peace.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. When you went through the school ministry, what was one of the key things that you feel like the school gave you?
Yeah. Community was a big deal. And some really key relationships. I believe the Lord did some really miraculous things in terms of giving me kingdom relationships.
Oh man.
And one of the things that the Holy Spirit is really, really fine-tuning in me is a desire to only go deep with people who are going after kingdom.
Yeah.
It's really important to me that it's iron sharpening iron in all of my relationships. And it doesn't mean that you have to be talking about God all the time or talking about ministry, but it has to be an equitable exchange of relationship. And so in the past, I've had a lot of relationships where I felt I was giving more, I was bringing more to the table
Yeah.
than they were, and because of my personality, I can put up with that for a long time.
Sure.
For me, it's super important that I'm getting just as much out of a relationship as I'm putting in. And this is any kind of relationship. I mean, family, friends, anything. You have to know that you're coming together on equal terms. So that's something that's been that I think the school gave me that I didn't always have.
That's really good. What do you do about the relationships that aren't on that term?
Yeah, I'm going through a lot of that right now, and it's difficult because you have to set boundaries.
Okay.
And sometimes draw lines where you didn't draw them before, and that can be frustrating to some people that you love and care about.
Yeah.
But it just means, listen, I can't always go with you to places in conversation that we've been before.
Okay.
It means here's a healthy line, and I'm not going to cross it anymore. And so learning those skills, some of the skills that I've learned from you and Blake on brave communication and some of the other life skills that we teach here at Bethel have been super valuable, because I can not get upset about it anymore. I don't have to be anxious about laying a boundary. I can just say, here it is. And, if you want to be close to me, you're going to respect this boundary. If not, then we're not going to be as close as we used to be. That's sometimes difficult for people, and it's difficult for me, but the Lord's shown me how to do it in a graceful way, I think.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and if they choose to respect the boundary, they come close.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow, that's really good. What is something that you love that we give the students? Since now that you were a student, now you're a first-year staff, what's something that you love that we give and offer to them?
Yeah, I love our times like revival groups and small groups, like the interaction of community at a personal level is a big deal.
Yeah.
So we have, sort of our teaching and the things that we're going out after as a school from a corporate level that Blake and the directors really go after hard, but they also show us such a strong value for connecting with students on a one-on-one level and on a community level, and then connecting with one another on that level. It's not all about the staff. I mean, one of the biggest things that I got out of school was connecting with other students.
Yeah.
And that value is something that is supported by our leadership and by the staff.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a huge deal for students who are looking not just to get closer to God, but to go further in ministry.
That's really good. And also I love that that they become some of your closest friends after you're through the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
awesome.
It's a really big deal.
I know that your dad passed away 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us a little bit about how you emotionally processed that super sad time in your life?
Yeah. So my dad was really one of my closest people in my life, and probably the best example of a good father that I know. I think a lot of the Lord, a lot of the way that I have shaped, that my views of God have been shaped by how my dad was to me.
Yeah.
And so losing him was difficult, but there were also some really sweet moments. I think I've come to know the love of the Father in a really cool way since he left, because it's amazing how when you lose a relationship that you need, how God can be that for you. And it doesn't take the place of those relationships, but the Holy Spirit, the Lord is just so good about giving you what you need. Yeah. And there have been some really incredible moments, and even the challenges that I've had in getting going through that. I don't know that you ever get over losing someone that close. Yeah. But going through that pain have been just complimented by how good God is. Wow. And coming back to Him, there are things that I get from the Lord now that I would have never thought I could get from God. I thought I could only get from my dad, and it's actually brought me and the Lord closer together.
That's really good. Can you tell me how you've been loving yourself well in this season and now that your dad's passed away?
Yeah, I think loving myself well looks like taking the time that I need for me, and taking the time that I need to connect with others.
Yeah.
Not getting too busy, um, going after life.
Yeah.
Um, Giving myself grace to make mistakes, because we're going to make a lot of them. Perfection actually isn't the goal, it's growth. And growth looks like being okay with being as okay with me making mistakes as I am with other people making mistakes. Being as forgiving towards myself as I am others.
Wow.
And I think those things have been, a real big deal of how I'm learning to love myself well.
Wow, that's so good.
Yeah.
And one last question. Can you tell us, when you worship, how do you connect with the Lord?
Yeah. So for me, it's very personal. It's very much talking to the Lord,
Okay.
telling the Lord exactly who He is to me. That's always been one of the ways that I've gone after the Lord, is really connecting with Him personally. But I'm also finding just the ability just to worship Lord even in things that are difficult, and bring Him pain and things that He and I have to talk out like a real relationship. It's amazing how real your relationship with God can be if you're willing to let it be real.
Yeah.
And there's a worship in that, in getting close to the Lord. Really, I feel like that's what worship is. It's an invitation to see that relationship upgrade. And because I really do believe that our walk with God is almost all about increasing our relationship with Him.
Yeah. That's so awesome. That is the key right there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, Jon, thank you so much. You just have such brilliance and just so much wisdom to give. I said that last time, but I really do love your wisdom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming
Thanks for
and being
having
on
me.
the show. Yeah. And you guys, thanks so much for joining us. We absolutely love you, and please come back next time.